Welcome to another episode of TDB 531. That's a lot of episodes.
Yeah. Shout out to the newest Wu-Tang music video.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law sent it to me at like 11 o'clock.
Your brother-in-law is the newest member of Wu-Tang.
Yeah. No.
Shout out to Carlos.
Actually, this wasn't Carlos. This was my other brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
Jake. So shout out to Jake.
Okay. Who is much younger than Carlos.
He is much younger than Carlos, which explains why he's still hip with the most important brands in tea. Okay, so what do we got here today?
So this is from our good friend, Mr. Green. And you know when Mr. Green calls, you know it's going to be some good stuff.
Yeah.
So this is a Wooey tea from what they call the Ghost Cave. So Xigua. It's like one of those...
Cool.
The Wooey are fancy in the sense that they have like these little like micro areas in terroir.
Yeah. It's so cool. The photos are amazing. It just, sorry to interrupt, but go to the producers of these teas and see they're like, yes, this small little like cove has, is the prized teas from millennia or whatever. Anyway. Yeah.
So, assuming they're not full of shit, which does happen, it should hopefully be a pretty good tea. Wow. So, try to load this up. This comes like kind of prepackaged in this cute little tin. So it kind of has the serving size set for you. So yeah, hopefully this is a good experience. I've been putting off doing this just because I knew this is kind of going to be a special tea.
Thank you, sir.
You can go ahead and just buy this on Taobao. Actually, I think it's like something like $25 for a session, so something like that. So priced not like a daily drinker, shall we say?
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Yeah.
My goodness. Incredible aroma on it already. Incredible baked aroma.
Chocolatey.
Yeah, chocolatey, maybe a little bit of a cinnamon thing in there. And that Gaiwan, I guess, is it the Gaiwan technically? Lidded cup.
Shibo.
Okay, yeah. Cool. Is that Chinese?
Shibo Ridashi, I think it's Japanese.
Okay.
Yeah. But made by, I think, Peter Novak, so one of those European potter folk.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I was about to say, anyway, the vessel is stuffed already.
Yeah. We have some extra leaf standing on standby, just in case.
Yeah.
Which,
smokes.
From the looks of this, we may not need. We'll see.
Yeah. Quite dark.
Yeah. Interesting. Very much smells kind of up, straight up, kind of like wooey alley.
Yeah, we might see
smaller leaves than I would expect.
Totally. We might see you see a little bit of amber on the stems. You might see a little bit of an opening up, which would signal maybe just the tiniest amount of green in there. So you might expect to have a bit of a different complexion compared to something that's just been quite charcoal.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's drink this bad boy.
Cheers. Wow. Whew. Intense.
Yeah, very full-bodied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It really does feel straight up wooey lane.
Oh, yeah. This is God.
The wooey of the wooeys.
Yeah, it's so rock flavored.
Very kind of rich, minerally body to it. Like nice sweetness.
Yeah.
Kind of a nice texture to it, too.
Yeah. Little bitterness.
Yeah, I could get that.
But nothing too intense yet.
Yeah. I wonder when this was... Okay. I wonder if that's when this was made. Because I also wonder a little bit if this might be... the roast could mellow out a little bit, like in a year or something like that, and it would be a fairly different experience. But you know what? It's still pretty tasty now, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Incredible residual flavor. We're still yet to get into some of the denser steepings, and so you would expect the kind of saturation in the body to happen over that time. Material looks quite clean. Beautiful liqueur, of course, as well. Nice, beautiful red auburn. Kind of a amber sap.
Amber sap. There you go.
Mm-hmm. It's like that Jurassic Park. It's like the mosquito. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about.
Is this another Star Wars reference?
Jurassic, yeah.
Explicitly Jurassic Park.
Maybe. Cheers.
Cheerio. It's intense, yeah. I was a little worried I didn't load it up enough, but I think I did.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's definitely got like a bitterness that like pretty quickly converts. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's a sharp but short-lasted bitterness.
Yeah, which you don't. I mean, we're used to that from pu'er, but
right.
a little bit less so. On
yeah.
Yeah.
I like the roast on this.
It's a yeah. You can taste it quite a bit.
Yeah,
right now.
but it's totally. But it's not so charcoal baked. You know, some I'm thinking like some of these wuis can have kind of a floralness to them that this doesn't have.
No, this is definitely on the roastier side of them.
But it's not. Yeah, it's like that has been roasted out, but it's not so charcoal roasted that. But then it's so minerally. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's really minerally, like very, like sometimes the mineralness is a little hidden.
Yeah,
not in this one.
Not for how much leaf you're using, and the heat. Not the most astringent, actually. I mean, there's definitely some of that there. Really, the kind of Huigan nice sweetness that's happening is really incredible. Yeah. This is a kind of a tea of poles, I'd say.
Yeah.
Lots of intense flavors, some sharp bitterness.
Sure.
But then lasting sweetness.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this is the sort of wooey that pu'er drinkers would appreciate because there's a lot of stuff that like changes in your mouth.
Totally.
It's like the bitterness converts into sweetness. Because like right now I taste no bitterness.
Yeah,
it's just all very sweet.
I like to describe that kind of like listening to a cappella music and having there be a lot of range in what you're listening to with different voices coming and going. Some teas, especially kind of classic green teas, for example, they can kind of occupy a smaller range. There might be a lot of density and flavor in that range. But something like this, I feel like spans a lot of high notes and low notes. Oh, excuse me. Yeah.
Got the woo burps.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's interesting because it's so intense, but it's not so bitter.
No. I mean, a little bitter.
Yeah, definitely.
At the first, but it's like the bitterness that I think most people would be fine with.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably bringing this a little strong for the mom test, but I do think you could probably get this tea to pass the mom test if you just lean a little bit less intense.
And to modulate that, James, what would you be doing for someone who's getting started with?
Most obvious thing is just pulling some leaf.
Yeah, totally.
Pull out like a gram.
Yeah.
And then you're just going to get a little bit of a gentler brew. I think it'll be significantly less complex and dense, but it depends on kind of like what you're going for.
Yeah, I think your observation about the size of the leaves, the cultivar itself, is interesting too.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. 'Cause usually you expect it to be a little bigger, but I think that might result in kind of stronger, more upfront brews too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And you can see a little bit of heterogeneity in terms of the roast. Some of these leaves do have a little bit of green there. But it's interesting because, again, I'm not getting any of those green oolong flavors that you can sometimes get out of these.
No.
Yeah.
I think this is definitely a tea, too, that would be interesting to try in a year, 2 years, 5 years, just because I think once the roast starts to mellow out even more, you're going to start to get to kind of a very interesting flavor profile, too.
It's getting even better now. A bit more juicy. What do you think, wartime test?
I think this is some work.
Yeah, this is going to get me hyped up for sure. Yeah.
I'm thinking 1800s, Give this to Honest Abe.
Yeah, what's the cyberpunk wartime test where you're jacked in with your VR link? Anyway,
matcha. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Matcha ice cream.
Wow, it's so minerally. It's funny to say that this is just bullseye what you want out of a wooey rock tea, but because it's so intense and it's a special tea, it feels like. But yeah, it's not genre breaking in any stretch.
Yeah, there's a martial arts film that has this kind of weird name that doesn't really make sense. It's called The Swordsman of All Swordsmen. I feel like that's the same with this wooey. It's the wooey of all wooeys. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. It's probably not, but it is very good. Yeah. And it's very down the nose on
totally
wooeys.
Yeah.
We did forget to mention to subscribe. So subscribe.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to get to
10,000
subscribers this year. So if you are a Yancha nut, get into the channel.
Yeah.
Really potent residual flavor. It's one of those teas that you should take some time on.
For sure.
Yeah, and appreciate sharing it because, this is definitely, I think, a tea nerd's tea. Not that you couldn't enjoy this as a new tea drinker necessarily, although I do think that not simpler, but maybe sweeter profiles tend to be easier to start people off with tea.
Agreed.
They're surprised at how luxurious, viscous some white tea could be, for example.
High Mountain Oolong, another classic recommended by the
totally.
show.
Yeah. Look at the color.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Denny's doing cardio after.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going wild, boys.
Cheers.
We going wild.
Oh my fuck. Oh god.
Too many April Fool's ideas.
Yeah.
We going wild. Slow mo, just like throwing piles of wooey teas.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna need the vacuum after that one.
Somehow that sounded so dirty. Okay, we'll stop.
Ooh, this is strong.
Yeah, it's strong.
Yeah.
I agree with you about your comparison to Sheng tea. I mean, it's not like it's funky at all.
No,
but it's just potent.
Yeah, it's just very kind of like penetrating. It has this like very protracted feel on like the whole palate.
Mm-hmm. But interestingly, with your drinking parameters here, it's not crazy viscous.
No, and the color is not like. I would expect from the color that if it was super strong like it is, be even darker.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not.
The experience for me, obviously, is kind of front-loaded with the sharp intensity, maybe a little bit of the bitterness, but the ongoing residual flavor is just remarkable. Again, this is one of those teas that I think deserves... It's almost an injustice to drink it like this on the show, frankly.
Because we're going so fast.
Yeah, frankly. So
we're gonna have another tea after this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's okay, Denny's doing cardio.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
We're doing cardio.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, we're doing cardio after this.
But yeah, I know. But in all seriousness, though, this is intense and so flavorful, and there's so much. There's a dynamic profile happening still in your mouth of drinking this that for me at least, I think it's worth taking time on.
It almost leaves the charcoal taste in your mouth too, like the minerals and stuff.
Yeah,
like in a way that isn't terribly common.
Beautiful, sweet.
Okay, I think it's finally starting to lose some intensity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like by the color a little bit.
And that is kind of what we would expect. These are not poor teas that are going to brew out for quite a while with a pretty consistent profile.
Yeah, exactly. And especially a twisted oolong like this.
Yeah.
It's going to get into the intensity a bit faster, a bit higher of a bell curve.
Sure.
But still strong for sure. Part of it also is the intra-session bias of being like, I'm now used to some of the bitterness, so I'm not experiencing it as much as a novel flavor. But I can see this. I could see you going for all day with this and just kind of drinking it eventually like hot water, where it has that wonderful character of sweetness. You walk away from it, come back to it an hour later, experience more of it.
Yeah.
And especially for something that has, a bit of a higher price point.
Yeah.
Extending the session to the degrees that you can, in the ways that you can, might be a good idea for this one.
Another thing you could do to juice up the session, probably not at the beginning but later, is to add that leaf as you're going, and then that would give kind of the just a little bit of extra juice, a little bit more legs to it. So that's something I've done in the past, especially if you don't have like, if you have like a sample and you don't have enough for another session, then better to have one good session than like two kind of sessions.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I
do it.
Let's do it.
I do it too often, and it's like it's a shame. I mean, the actual thing that's driven me ultimately in that way is actually just buy smaller teaware, so I can really enjoy the intensity of the tea and just brew in smaller vessels ultimately.
Right, but there's a limit to that too. It's like if I'm drinking on my own, I don't usually want to drink out of like a cup like this. I want something a little bigger. So it's about kind of finding that right balance.
Yeah. What is your favorite kind of Gaiwan vessel size?
It's probably kind of like just to your right there. the stuff I use for in between episodes, I'd say, are pretty typical of my usual wares.
And so that'd be like what, 60, 70 ml?
Yeah, 70, 75.
Okay.
Yeah, I find 50 is a little too small. Hundreds maybe. 100 could work, but a little big.
Yeah. When I'm drinking alone with my titanium Gaiwan, which is I think 120 milliliters, I'm just not using the whole volume of the vessel.
Yeah.
So interesting. Really beautiful residual flavor. Again, rock tea AF.
Yeah.
There's another way to describe it.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Final one.
Yeah. Last one.
Cheers.
Cheerios.
Now that kind of roast is starting to mellow out a little bit. So nice on the nose.
It's interesting. All of the activity has kind of like drained out of it pretty rapidly. Actually, it's fallen off, but it like still has like a nice body to it. So it's still like you're kind of like drinking like the heavily flavored water at this point.
Yeah,
but I think like the most interesting steeps are definitely like the first 4.
Yeah.
Or so.
Yeah, I agree. Doesn't mean that these can't be enjoyed, but certainly you might not be writing a review for these teas, for example.
Yeah.
Sorry, these steepings.
Right.
Yeah. I just thought ongoing baked charcoal note, which is like, what is the thing that's being charcoal baked? And it's like rocks. What the fuck does that even mean? And yet somehow it's literally the description of this tea. It's crazy.
Go charcoal bake some rocks. Report back. Let us know how it is. Don't lick it when it's too hot.
Thanks for watching. Shout out to Mr. Green. Thank you so much for this one. This was a fun session for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely interesting, dynamic. Taobao, I guess, to pick this up?
Yeah, I'll put the link in. I know where it is. Yeah, honestly, I would consider picking this up just because, I have a lot of tea, and so when you have a lot of tea that's decent, then you probably want to prioritize kind of the top-end sessions and stuff like this. So
yeah.
I think it does make sense for as something to buy for kind of like a special occasion, like having it with you or with like another tea nerd, that sort of thing. So
totally.
Yeah, I would seriously consider picking this up.
Yeah. Subscribe. Help us get to 10 million subscribers. First, we're going to get to 10,000.
First, get us to over 9,000.
Yeah, exactly. We're close to that. Send this to your favorite pet rock.
Who has a YouTube that they can subscribe to us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need to do collabs with rocks. Until then,
peace out. Wu-Tang and rocks for life.
Rocks for life.